It's now over 50 years since man first set foot on the moon as part of 1969's Apollo 11 mission. But 2 years earlier, Doctor Who had got there first, beginning a long and complicated relationship with Earth's oldest satellite. Set in 2070, the 1967 story The Moon Base saw the TARDIS land on the moon for the very first time. It depicts the near future in which humans had managed to successfully build a space station on the lunar surface, which housed the gravitron, a device used to control Earth's weather. The story begins with the Doctor and his companions donning some rather groovy spacesuits and doing some moonwalking, but the fun doesn't last for very long. Old enemies the Cybermen crop up again to wreak havoc and try and use the gravitron to further their own evil plans. The moon appears again in 1969's The Seeds of Death, a story broadcast just a few months before Apollo 11 took place. Once again, this story featured a moon base, which housed a T-Mat cubicle, enabling instantaneous travel between the moon and the Earth. Whether or not this is the same establishment as that seen before is not made clear. This time it's the Ice Warriors' turn to use the moon as a base from which to invade the Earth, but like the Cybermen before them, they are stopped. As established in the following year's Doctor Who and the Silurians, it was the creation of the moon that forced the Silurians into hibernation. Little did they know that it wasn't going to crash into the Earth after all, but instead enter into its orbit. Believed to be a spy working for the Draconians, the third Doctor was sent to a lunar penal colony in Frontier in Space. Meanwhile, in the fourth Doctor story, The Mask of Mandragora, astrologer Hieronymus predicts that the moon will be swallowed by Mandragora, in reality a lunar eclipse. It's a little known fact that the moon was in fact the very first thing to appear in 21st century Doctor Who, in the iconic opening shot of Rose, establishing the show's focus on the otherworldly, before the shot pans over to the Earth and zooms in much closer to Rose Tyler's bedroom, to give this idea a grounding in the real world. This shot was reused in both The Christmas Invasion and The Runaway Bride to perform a similar function. The moon was integral to the 2006 story Tooth and Claw with its werewolf villain. It appeared in the following episode too, as a sinister backdrop to a shot of Acrylotane flying at night. The 2007 story Smith and Jones saw the Royal Hope Hospital transported to the moon so that the Judoon could isolate and capture a plasmavore. In the same season's Blink, we learned that the 10th Doctor and Martha had witnessed the moon landing not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 times. In 2010's The 11th Hour, the freshly regenerated 11th Doctor chose the moon as the first destination for his new TARDIS, a trip unfortunately not seen on screen. A couple of episodes later, Victory of the Daleks saw the Daleks using the dark side of the moon as a hiding place for their saucer, perhaps as a way of harking back to the invasion when the Cybermen had done exactly the same thing. According to Sarah Jane Smith in the Sarah Jane Adventures episode Death of the Doctor, as of 2010, former companion Liz Shaw was working on a moon base. How this fits in with the rest of the Doctor Who canon is anyone's guess, but then again, it's only intended as a playful, throwaway line. 2011 opener The Impossible Astronaut on Day of the Moon was heavily based around Apollo 11, borrowing the setting of American 1969 and a NASA-style spacesuit for the eponymous Impossible Astronaut. At the start of Day of the Moon, the Doctor lands the TARDIS at the Apollo 11 launch pad, declaring that Neil Armstrong's foot is his secret weapon. Only at the story's climax do we fully understand what this means. Over the course of the episode, we see the Doctor putting things in place for his schemes to feed the silence. He pays a return visit to the Apollo 11 launch pad, installing a relay device inside the rocket, as well as getting Canton to record a video clip of a silence on his behalf. Ultimately, in order to put this plan in action, he has to interrupt the rather exciting moon landing broadcast. But then again, the fact that he chooses this particular broadcast is testament to its legacy. Not only will it be watched by its original audience, but by subsequent generations in years to come. A milestone in human history that will never be forgotten. Victorian attitudes about the moon were reflected in the 2012 minisode The Great Detective, in which Paternoster gang member Strax remarked, "Too long has it hung unmonitored and unsuspected in the sky. It has gained an enormous tactical advantage." He claimed to have declared war on the moon, in particular the Moonites, its apparent inhabitants. For a brief moment at the start of the Series 7 story Nightmare in Silver, it seemed like the TARDIS had landed on the moon once more. However, despite its lunar resemblance, this was quickly revealed to be the spacey Zoomer ride on Hedgewick's world. As its title suggests, 2014's Kill the Moon was the most moon-centric story yet. Set in 2049, this pivotal adventure revealed that the moon was in fact an egg waiting to hatch, presumably laid by a much bigger creature billions of years ago. As a consequence of this, it had gained mass and thus gravity, meaning there was no opportunity for the Doctor to go moonwalking on this particular occasion. Instead, the story saw Clara, Courtney and Captain Lundvik, the unlikely representatives of the planet Earth, faced with a moral dilemma: to blow the moon up, or to let the creature inside of it live, but risk it attacking the Earth. In the end, the trio chose not to kill the moon, instead allowing it to hatch. Thankfully, this process wasn't very destructive at all, with the creature leaving another moon in its place. Therefore, in the Doctor Who universe, there are two moons: the original, which hatched in 2049 and was a setting for stories such as Smith and Jones, as well as the moon landing, and the new moon, which is the one featured in the moon base and the Seeds of Death. We're yet to see if a similar event occurs in our own universe, only 30 years till we find out. Kill the Moon was significant for another reason too. It was the first story to use a real location to represent the lunar surface, rather than a studio set or CGI. The location chosen was the Timanfaya National Park in Lanzarote, in particular the area around El Volcán del Cuervo. Its sweeping vistas proved more than adequate for this role, the episode presenting us with the most impressive depiction of the moon in the show to date. How do you feel about how the moon has been portrayed in Doctor Who? Please do leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon for some more new Doctor Who content. Goodbye for now, guys.